While her body's proportions seem almost perfectly balanced, if she lived a normal life, she had attended a school like all the other girls her age, she would have likely been very popular. Girls would have killed to have her in their group, and boys would have courted her every single day. She would have had a life that most girls at her age could only dream of if she'd lived a normal life. Alright then, Rose says, as she takes a sideways glance towards all the people who are standing in the side of the street. We shouldn't linger here any longer. Let's go get Hardrick and Flower. We'll take another route towards my house. When Hardrick saw us enter the shop to call for him, he seems a bit disappointed. It appears that he would have liked to leave browse the shop's wares a bit more before leaving. Why did you all come to get me so early? Hardrick asks. Weren't we gonna wait for Flower to come back? Some stuff happened which made us decide to pick another route towards my home. Rose says. We'll tell you all the details when we get back. Hardrick says. And I'm guessing the details will also cover how you all recruited a new team member in my absence. You catch on fast, Rose says with a playful smile. Name's Hardrick says as he approaches Ella, but most friends call me the dwarf. Pleased to make your acquaintance. The dwarf extends his hand towards the girl, but she gets scared and instinctively jumps back when he gets near her. Ella then looks both at me and Rose, seemingly asking for our approval. And when I nod to her, she hesitantly grabs Hardrick's hand and she shakes it weakly. I've never really met a dwarf before, have you, lass? Hardrick asked Ella with a grin. It's a bit more complicated than that, Rose says. Like I said, we'll go over the details when we arrive at my house. Come on, let's go get Flower. Found Flower a few minutes ago. This is because I'm reading all this because this is slightly changed, because the last time we were just like bum rushing to her house and Darren was super pissed off the whole time. So this is a very different situation. We found Flower a few minutes later on one of the streets we'd taken when we first came into the city. She had already finished replacing the chain on Araka's amulet, and she was also surprised that we didn't wait for her or a designated spot. But she agreed to postpone her questions until we reached Rose's house. We took a somewhat roundabout way this time around in order to make sure that nobody who saw the earlier scene was following us. As we advanced into the city, the scenery began to slowly change, and instead of broken down shacks, we started seeing more elegant houses and even a few mansions. The putrid smell on the street was also long gone by the time we'd finally reached Rose's house. To our surprise, despite her previous claims of living in relative poverty, Rose's house was in fact a very large mansion with two floors and a yard the size of a small park. Now, there's a question that I have. I don't understand this. Every time they say this exact same thing, which I am very confused by. This is the thing. There are, let's say, multiple walls, right? Like Attack on Titan sort of situation. See, multiple walls. So there's the outer district, there's the inner district, and then there's like the royal castle and whatnot, right? So if it's like, let's say the whole situation is like a circular situation, the what is it called? The whole place is circular, right? So if we're looking at the whole city as a circular structure, then in that situation, is the entire outer ring comprised of shacks and stuff like that? Because if that is the case, that is really weird, because every single time the royalty or like anyone from the higher up standing has to leave the city, they will have to travel through the slums to get out of the city. And if anyone from like the rich people from other countries or like dignitaries or diplomats or anyone else comes from other city, then that would mean that they will have to travel through the slums to get to the main part of the city. So the only way I can think of that this would work is that we would have a oval shaped city instead of a circular shaped city, and the difference would be that the oval shaped city would have the castle more closer to the walls up top, and there would be multiple entrances. So in that way there would be four entrances. One would go through the slums, and the two on the sides would also integrate the inner area where the merchants everyone lives, and then the royal castle, and one entrance would straight lead to the royal castle, which would probably have the biggest walls and heavily guarded. So it would be looking very different. So I find that very interesting. I hope you got that, what I just said. If you don't, just write down in the comments, and then maybe I'll make a little drawing of it or something. But whatever. Do put a like what is it called, timestamp here, so that I can look for it myself if you do want a diagram or something. I'm not very good at drawing, but I will try my best to explain what I'm trying to say. Where were we? Rose's house was in fact, yeah. Kate, you can stop suppressing your magical aura now, Rose says as we walk across the yard. My siblings don't know what a banshee is, so there's no need to hide it from them. Rose, I don't mean to sound rude, Hardwick says, but didn't you tell me that you and your this is the whole thing, the parting gift, and they got that from their rich husband or whatever. So this is the situation where we look at the toy that she has. I noticed the virtual pet toy that Susie is holding in her hand looks incredibly similar to my stat device, even more so than I remembered. Could it also be some ancient device made by Lasetti which holds hidden powers like the fortune teller trinket that I have in my pocket? So I missed this one because I did not want to break her toy, so we're going to ask Susie for her toy this time. Ask Susie if I can borrow her toy for a second to take a look at it. Mysterious symbol. Susie, I say, can I borrow that toy of yours for a second? I just want to look at something. No, the girl says, mine, you can have it. Honestly, I didn't know what else I was expecting when I asked that question. Alright, how about a trade, I say, as I take out my stat booster out of my pocket. Let you play around with this while I take a look at your toy. Deal? The girl tries to feign indifference when she's my stat device, but it's easy enough to see that piqued her interest. Eventually gives in and agrees to temporarily trade her device for my own. As I study her toy closely, I notice that there's a small marking on the side, which looks like a bended fork, but aside from that, there is nothing else that stands out. I don't even feel that faint tingling sensation I usually get when my stat device tries to attach itself to my aura. Maybe it's only a toy after all. You sure it's a good idea to just hand over your device over like that, Barry? Hardwick asked me, grinning. Aren't you worried that she'll completely mess all your stats while she plays with it? Nah, I say. I made sure to lock all my stats before I gave it to her. The only thing she can do right now is look at the screen. So I'm done looking at the toy. I gave it back to Rose's sister in exchange for my stat device. You tricked me, Susie says with a pouty face. Your toy is broken, doesn't do anything. It's not fair. Life is never fair, kid. Oh, that's so good. I tell her that I put my device back in my pocket. It's better to learn than while you're young. Don't you listen to him, Susie, Rose says, very just grumpy because his parents would only give him broken toys when he was a kid. Susie giggles. Poor Barry, she says. Poor Barry. Her brother mimics her. Rose, Darren says, could you show me to my room? All I want right now is to lie down in my bed for a while. Certainly, Rose says, follow me. I'll show you the way. We'll come too. Rose's siblings say in unison. Okay, you'll come too, Rose says, smiling. She then turns to us. Please make yourself comfortable, Rose says. You can come inside the house and wait in the main hall if you like. Nah, we're good for now, thanks. Hardwick says, we'll just sit at one of these picnic tables and I'll be right back, Rose says, and then she goes with Darren and her siblings inside the mansion. This is very interesting because in the next book, then that means that there are going to be dialogue from the slave girl as well, Ella or whatever her name was, which is not the case in this time, in my main playthrough, because, she's kind of not around, she's kind of dead, and the fucking, what do they call, deers are also kind of not around and all that. I can't believe this, Hardwick says after hearing all the stories. So you're saying that Flower and now are the only ones who can't attack any of the locals because we weren't there when Aiden cast his spell. Oh yeah, I didn't even realize that. I don't think they mentioned this back then. Actually, I never had that problem to begin with, Flower says. I'm not participating in the tournament, remember? The spell doesn't affect me. Great, Hardwick says. Just great. Why did I have to enter that armor shop that didn't even have anything worth buying? Excuse me, Master, says Ella, who is seated right next to me. I don't mean to interrupt, but you haven't given me any task to perform since we arrived here. Oh, it's fine. I tell her, don't worry about it. You can just sit there and rest for now. Yes, sir, the girl says. Instead of her calming her down, my word seems to have only made her even more restless. She's now fidgeting nervously and sweating all over as she stares intently at the table in front of her. There you are, Rose says. As she approaches her, then seats herself next to Flower. Darren already unpacked his bags. Would you like me to show you your rooms? We can do that later, Hardwick says. Ella's been sitting there biting her nails for the past 15 minutes because she didn't have anything to do. Don't you have any work around the house that you need to do that you need doing? Oh no, I couldn't possibly make her work so soon after what she's been through, Rose says. She turns to the girl. Ella, Rose says, you can go sleep for as long as you need, and after you're well rested, we'll give you a tour of the house. Is that okay? She's wary because if she drops her guard and then we're like, haha, we're just tricking you and now we're gonna beat the shit out of you, fucking domestic abuse and all that. domestic help abuse, I suppose I should say. That she's not gonna be happy about that, so that's why she's on her guard.